The Trump administration is continuing their insane agenda of endless deregulation. The EPA is easing restrictions on lead, mercury, and other toxic discharges from coal plants into waterways. Easing restrictions on lead, mercury, and other toxic discharges from coal plants into waterways. Arsenic's another one. They have a list of them that they go through in the article. Now, let me give you some more information on this. The Environmental Protection Agency regulation scaled back the types of wastewater treatment technologies that utilities must install to protect rivers and other waterways. It also pushed back compliance dates and exempted some power plants from taking any action at all. How's this for a loophole? So they say if you're going to shut down the coal plant before 2028, the year 2028, you're exempt from all regulations on this. Okay, they're not magically somehow more clean because they're shutting down in a few years. That doesn't make them more clean. The water can still become toxic. I mean, the regulation doesn't even make sense. And you know what it really is? It's a giant loophole, which makes it so that any company can say, oh, we're planning on shutting by 2026 or 2027. And then they just don't do that. They could just not do that. But they're in like a total, they have complete freedom from all these regulations if they say, oh, we're shutting down before 2028. I mean, this is the way it works under Republican administrations is that they try to appoint people to be the head of regulatory agencies where they view their job as to not regulate the industries. So they're put in this position specifically to tie the hands of the regulators and have them do nothing. Because this is the philosophy. This is the ideology. It's the Ayn Rand approach. It's anarcho-capitalism. They think any and all regulations are burdensome and a restriction on liberty and freedom. So just tie the hands of the regulatory bodies and let the industry do whatever they want. And they have these cockamamie theories about how, oh, the free market will always end up with the best results. The corporations will always do the right thing because it's in their best interest to do the right thing. And listen, I mean, evidence proves that's just not true at all. I mean, how many cases have we seen, particularly when it comes to externalities like environmental destruction? I mean, you had companies that used to dump toxic chemicals in the Hudson River because it's cheaper to just dump it in the Hudson River than dispose of it in a clean, safe way. You needed regulation to force them to do that. And now we have such a, this is a similar example. So some more information on this. It's going to save the industry, the coal industry, $140 to $480 million. And it will also endanger the water of 1.1 million Americans. 1.1 million. Also, the industry could save a couple $100 million. The regulations, when they were in place, stopped about 1.4 billion pounds of toxic metals and other pollutants from pouring into rivers and streams. So there's not a question. This was good for communities that are near these coal plants. It was good for them. People could drink the water and not have to worry about getting heavy metal poisoning. He's rolling it back. They're rolling it back. This is what they do, man. This is what they do. And this is what, guys, there are some issues where Democrats and Republicans are far too similar. This is actually one of those rare issues where there's no comparison. Like, these regulations were Obama-era regulations. He wanted to regulate that industry and effectively did. Trump is going in the other direction. So this is a rare instance where the Democrats are just flat out totally better in every way on this. They just don't take the kind of donations from the coal industry as, Trump and the Republicans do. And so they're willing to regulate them and actually help people out by giving them clean water. Like, there is an extra layer of evil with some of the things that the Republicans do. Like, the deregulation mindset can be so absurd that this ends up happening. And, of course, you're not going to hear much talk about this, guys. You're really not. You're going to hear about it on this show. Credit to the New York Times for covering it. There might be some other articles about it, print outlets. Again, I don't think that this is one of those issues that's sexy enough for MSNBC or CNN or the nightly news to really cover in detail. I think they'd much rather focus on... Now, I'm not hating on this because I talk about it too, but like the scandal where Trump was joking around and said to Sarah Huckabee Sanders, like, take one for the team by spending a night with Kim Jong-un. Like they're going to focus on that because that's like salacious. And so they'll talk about that nonstop. Or they'll do another, the 917th bullshit Russiagate story. They'll do that too. But this stuff, this is the dry, governing, regulatory conversation, which they think is an assumption on the part of the media. Oh, that won't get us good ratings. That's not sexy enough. Little did they know, man, there's definitely a giant chunk of Americans that this is what they want the news to cover. This is the important stuff. This is as important as it gets. 1.1 million Americans with unsafe drinking water because you deregulated the industry because you're in bed with them and have taken contributions from them. I mean, that's corruption. That's corruption. That's built into the system. That's the way it works. It's unacceptable. And they'll just gloss right over it. They just won't talk about it. And by the way, even though the Democrats are better in terms of governing on this front, do I think that they're going to put an issue like this front and center for election season? No. And I don't know why. This is a really powerful thing to point out and would really help you if you're showing how much they don't care about people and they care about the industry because they're bought by him. But they're not. They're not going to talk about this in the way that they should. So here we are. Again, you got to come to a loudmouth, annoying YouTube post to blabber about this stuff. You shouldn't have to come to me to get important news like this. He's done a lot of this kind of stuff, this kind of insane deregulation since he's become president. He's going to keep doing more the rest of the time he's in office. And if he gets another 4 years, Jesus Christ. I mean, there already are no cops on the beat when it comes to Wall Street, for example. Like, he destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Destroyed it. They'll let Wall Street get away with whatever. They're openly committing fraud. Imagine that on steroids and human growth hormone and like just no regulations anywhere. There is no regulatory body in this country anymore because that's their ultimate goal. And they're working on it and they're getting there.